Sometimes in Power BI, you just need a table, but to please everyone, you've ended up with a massive one. You get stuck scrolling sideways and it looks like an Excel dump, not just a few columns that you actually needed. My name's Anne, and I'm going to show you how to replace all of that with just one Power BI table that adapts to everyone's different needs using no code at all. Let's start off by looking at a very familiar Power BI table. It all started fine. Then somebody needed one more column and so on. And now technically it answers everything, but it's an absolute faff to use. This is what happens when one table is forced to answer every question for every team all at once. So let's strip all of that right back to just one static column, which is going to act as our base. First, we remove all of the different columns and measures from the table, except our first static column. In this example, our static column is the product, and that's going to be our anchor point that ultimately everything hangs off going forward. And now this is where field parameters come in. I use this approach with clients when we need flexibility, but without having to create more pages, more versions of essentially the same table. A field parameter gives you a controlled set of options for the report user to then be able to choose from. You or the report designer define those measures or columns at the very start when you're designing the report. And then the report user can switch between them without needing anyone to go and rebuild visuals. So sales can focus on revenue and growth, or ops can look at stock and supply. Finance can deep dive into margin and cost. It's all the same table with the same definitions, but it's different views depending on the conversation. Field parameters are going to give you that flexibility without actually losing any control. Let's decide the rules for this table before anyone starts interacting with it. To implement field parameter, go to modeling, choose new parameter and select fields. And here we're going to add every column or measure that you're comfortable making available to your end report users. This list really matters. It's the boundary of which the business can choose from. A good tip here is to remember to select the fields in an order that you want them to appear by default. And before you click create, make sure add slicer to the page is turned on. That's going to save you some extra steps. This is now the foundation for flexibility. When we build the field parameter, Power BI automatically creates the DAX and the table in the model. You don't need to touch any of that. It's just there doing the mapping for you. Before we use the field parameter, though, in the table, we should just spend a moment formatting the slicer. I've swapped it over to a button slicer, tidied up the spacing, and made it look part of the report and not just an afterthought. Now comes that really important step. We're going to select the table and then add that field parameter to the column as well. As soon as you do this, the table now responds to the slicer because they're linked. The next part is to make this behave the way we actually want it to. By default, only one column is showing up. So in slicer settings, we're going to turn off single select because the goal is to let someone build the table with multiple columns. So this option needs to be switched off. And now we need to ship it so that it's usable by others. We publish the report to the Power BI service, and you'll see everything behaves exactly the same way, ready to be used. Especially with tables, people want to interact with that data a little bit differently sometimes and not in Power BI. So if somebody wants to export it, they can now get an exact snapshot of the view that they've built. And you know that it's still coming from that governed data model. Ultimately, that means it's going to work for everyone and stay a governed source. And you know what? This is a standard that you can enforce immediately so that it's one table, one source of truth, one data model, but different departments are getting what they need when they need it without creating more reports and more problems. And now that you fixed the bloated tables so that everybody is finally happy, the next thing that can still trip you up is how the rest of the report looks. Because even great insights can fall flat if the page feels messy. So watch this next video. I'm going to show you 8 quick no-code design tweaks that make your reports look polished and ready. I'll see you there.